multimedia show. It's also a multi-dimensional show showing you a variety of people and places and organizations that do great things for our island. And one such organization that is definitely multi-dimensional is the West Care Pacific Islands group. And we are bringing on Beverlyn Coleman and Rosario Perez today, two ladies who are dedicated to make Guam the very best it can be by providing mental health resources for young people. So ladies, a half a day to you both, and thank you what you do for our island community.
Half a day, and thank you so much, Jason, for having us on.
All right, Rosario, good morning to you as well. Certainly this isn't just a job for any of you over there at West Care. It's truly like a calling, and especially when you deal with the very sensitive issue of making sure that young people are mentally strong, mentally healthy, mentally aware even, and everything like that. That's got to be something that, it's not just a 9 to 5 for you guys. Oops,
definitely not.
You're muted, Rosario.
It's definitely not.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely not a 9 to 5 job, and that's why I think we really hit the ground running in trying to promote and bring awareness to all our youth programs. And so we're just really excited to be able to talk about the program that Rosario and I are a part of. I think the last time we were on here, I was talking about the launch of this new program, and it's MaLak Na Haani, or Bright Futures. It's West Care's youth behavioral health program, and so we're just excited to talk about the expansion of that program. We initially started as a school-based program, and we were only focusing on 3 school sites at the time. So we were providing mental health services to students at Ukudu, BMS, and FB Young Girl Middle School. We were able to do this under a disaster response grant from the Substance Abuse Mental Health Service Administration, or SAMHSA. But with most disaster response grants, they're usually short-lived. And so unfortunately, we weren't able to obtain additional funding to sustain that service of delivery. However, we were awarded a 5-year grant under SAMHSA, under the National Child Traumatic Stress Initiative. And so that actually allows us to expand our services to the community as a whole. So any middle school or high school age youth who's experiencing any kind of mental health challenges, they can actually reach out to our program, and we're able to provide that service. So parents and guardians can call us, social workers, healthcare providers, anybody in our community organizations, any of our partners in the community can call us and reach out if they know somebody who's in middle school or high school experiencing any of these challenges. So we're just so excited to broaden our scope.
How about peers of the young people themselves, ladies? Because I think, and I'm no expert in child psychology, but I do know from my own experience that when you're that age of between like 11 to 17, you're going through a lot of physical changes, obviously, mental changes. There's a lot of peer pressure, but at the same time, they say children are so much wiser than we give them credit for. But at the same time, your frame of reference is so limited, and kids may be going through something they may not even be aware of something they're going through and everything like that. So how do you actually address this very particular segment of our community?
So we provide individual counseling, and Rosario is one of our clinicians. We have 3 clinicians on board, so I'm really happy to have Rosario on here. And they've also provided group counseling and psychoeducational classes with their peers. So we did a lot of outreach in those school sites at the time and really tried to recruit. Rosario was responsible for doing, a self-care series, and then we had another clinician do a self-care series at Beneventie Middle School. So really not only focusing on the individual social emotional development, but understanding that peers during that time are more important, honestly, than parents and adults. And, we're boring to these kids. So we were able to have some groups with peers small enough to where they felt comfortable enough to share.
During the first iteration of this program, before you guys began the expansion, what were some of the issues confronting our youth, and what were they saying to you guys in terms of the type of health and mental type problems they were experiencing?
That's an amazing question, Sabrina. I'm actually going to hand it over to Rosario, because I'm that person in the background who does all the boring stuff, and Rosario does the direct service. So she'll be able to share a little bit on that. I don't know about boring or in the background because.
You're both
but
rock stars
anyway.
in our book here. You guys are amazing. You guys are truly doing the Lord's work.
Oh, thank you. And so I guess to answer your question directly, while maintaining some level of ambiguity because we want to protect the confidentiality of the things that we discuss with our kiddos or with our students. And a lot of it obviously is COVID and the changes that it has just flung every. You know, I think as adults, we all are doing our best to manage and I don't even know how to measure it. We're all doing our best to manage, and to go through it as a middle schooler or as a high schooler, it's just that much more. I don't even know if amplified is the word because it's a difficult time to be in middle school. It's so uncomfortable, even in high school. It's a roller coaster of great things and not great things, and it feels like the world is ending. But ultimately, some of the things that we've been seeing is depression and anxiety, of course, and it's a very valid and natural response because a lot of our students, in one of like the workshops of the series that we had done with our students, we had at the time, I believe the students might still be doing this. They were breaking them up by their last name, and so we did one set of workshop with a set of students, and they really enjoyed it. And they were like, "Can you pass the message on to my best friend that you're going to see tomorrow?" And so I passed that message on, and it was so heartwarming, but also like it was sad at the same time because they miss connecting with each other. And so I guess my point that I'm getting at is that a lot of what COVID or any kind of mental health issue brings, or it causes so much conflict for our youth, is the lack of connectedness or feeling like we don't have the support that we need. Of course, we have our parents, we have our guardians, we have our caretakers, but it's different. And as Sabrina might have said in that, or at least the underlying point is that the peers are really, they make it through together. And so fortunately, we clinicians here, we're not that far from their age, but of course we are older than them. But I think it helps in that it's, yeah, right. But it helps in that we can relate. I think anybody can relate to them. But
okay, that's a perfect word, if I may, Rosario, because I was going to say, you know, like in addition to you know, the science and the proven, you know, behavioral studies that you guys do, how much when you're dealing with young people do you actually promote empathy and just say like, okay, well, I know you're going through something and everything like that, but you know what you're going through isn't unlike what maybe 10,000 other kids you know, are going through too. So you can get through this, and you know, you are a lot more mentally strong than you might believe in everything. So you know, building them up and letting them realize that, you know, they're not alone, and you know, like really generating that confidence within them.
No, and absolutely, and I agree with that. And I think even just to echo off of your point in promoting empathy is something that we want to talk about in every session, but also promoting and reminding them that they're a lot more empowered and resilient than they are. But of course, it's all about timing and where they are in their headspace, because if they're feeling like the world is ending and that everything's crappy, we're not going to sit there and be like, you can do it. We're going to level with them and be, yeah, this really sucks. And when they're ready, be like, okay, it's going to suck for a little bit. So what can we do to make this better?
I think that's wonderful. And do you find that, I mean, that approach maybe like 50 years ago, child psychiatrists may not have like, you know, like been fully on board with that approach. But these days, I mean, does that really prove to make that strong connection and, you know, really resonate with a young person?
I mean, short answer, yes. And if I, you know, and I'm not trying to, okay, no, I should totally hype up our program. Our program uses evidence-based, our program uses evidence-based approaches. And so the approaches that we're using, of course, we have to use our clinical judgment at some points, but we primarily focus and we stay driven by evidence-based practices like trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, seeking safety. Sorry, Bev, these are the things you were going to go into. You know, motivational interviewing. And so, yeah, short answer is yes, we find them to be very effective. It's helpful in building rapport. It makes the interactions with the youth so much more genuine and helpful, because otherwise it might not be very fruitful. But, you know, I'm just speaking out in the air.
No, that's really good, Rosario. I think when we apply for these fundings, we really do research on the evidence-based approaches that will work, but not only for the population, but does it culturally resonate with the kids we work with,
being in an island in the Pacific. And so that's a lot of thought that we put into it to make sure that it's something we can take, but we can adapt it here for our kids.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and again, everybody, this is a program, as they said, you know, it's not just the youth themselves, but it's their support system, their family structure, their church group perhaps, and their classmates, obviously, you know, whatever organizational unit you may belong to and everything, WestCare is there for you. And I want to throw out your social media handles because on Instagram, you guys are at westcare.pi, Westcare Pacific Islands, remember everybody, represent Pacific Islands. On Facebook, they are at Westcare Pacific Islands, all is one word, and then westcarepacificislands.org. If you would like to reach out to them, please let them know. Their number is 671-472-0218, extension 102 or 126. Ladies, I know part of like the job description to work at Westcare is, you know, you must be compassionate and you must have like a genuine love for Guam and, you know, just a tireless commitment to wanting to help people and everything like that. So, you know, you guys are obviously, I see why you guys got the job. You know, you guys are well qualified.
Thank you so much, Jason.
Okay. Final words and everything before we let you go and everything, just about the success of the program or maybe where you may be headed with it going forward.
I think when we launched it, it gave us a real good insight into how best we could help the youth. And that's why we had this urge to expand our services outside of just being in the school. To more community-based. And then we also are putting on, I just want to announce before we get off that we are also putting on a virtual presentation, and I'll have Rosario just talk about that really quick, and it's for the community as well.
All right.
Yes, so thank you. The presentation we have, please check out our website. Under the events tab, you can find a registration link. And so the workshop we're hosting is called Taking Steps Towards a Brighter Future, Supporting Teen Mental Health, which is right up the alley of what we were discussing today. And so big shout out to Manietlu and the leadership of the collaborative grant under Manietlu, because we would not have made it possible without them. And so essentially...
we're big fans of Sam Taitano on this show, trust us. Absolutely.
Yeah, we're big fans of Manietlu.
There you go.
Yes, for sure. So I think this topic of teens and having difficulties, struggling with stressors or traumas and so on and so forth, a lot of times we can see them resorting to other things that are unhealthy or unproductive as far as coping. And so a lot of what we're going to focus on is looking at emotional triggers, how caregivers, I should say too that the audience of this workshop are parents, caregivers, grandparents, guardians. And so it's really meant for the participants to be able to recognize emotional triggers or better understand them, and also looking and understanding at the risks that are associated with the lack of a healthy and solid coping skills. But primarily the overall goal of the workshop is to reduce these healthy behaviors so that participants are equipped with knowledge of common signs of symptoms of depression, anxiety, identifying stress factors, and of course the biggest thing that we hope for the participants to take away from is knowing and identifying, I'm sorry, I'm getting tangled up in my words. Essentially, it's for them to recognize what makes healthy coping skills and how we as caregivers, the community, and for our families can do better for our teens and our youth. But yeah, please check us out. We hope to see everyone there.
So that's Westcare Islands, westcarepacificislands.org once again. I didn't even think about that, Rosario. Grandma and grandpa, you know, obviously they are such a huge influence in a young person's life, but because of the generational differences, they might not even be able to, again, empathize with how much if you get like Instagram love, or if people are snobbing you on Instagram and everything, how much that can affect somebody. That's a fantastic opportunity for, I hope grandma and grandpa, everybody like listening and everything like that, wonderful opportunity for you as well. So Rosario, Bev, thank you so much, and always a pleasure to have you guys on the show. Come back anytime.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jason.
All right, have a wonderful day. Stay safe.
You too. Thanks.
All right, good stuff, everybody. Please check out Westcare Pacific, like an endless cavalcade of people who just really, really care about the island, and, you know, just provide so many opportunities for wellness.
Yep, a cavalcade of caring, Jay. Good job. Bree, good job today. Welcome back.
Thanks.
Welcome home.
Or is the jet lag starting to hit you?
A little bit.
Are you hungry at all?
I'm starving.
What are we gonna eat? And I'm ready.
Looks like we got our first assignment now that she's